Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Hotfix Podcast. You are listening to us
And
from quarantine. Oh, sorry, what?
See, I've already screwed it up.
Welcome to Hotfix, the weekly podcast that dives into the fascinating world of streaming, gaming, and esports. With your hosts, Brant Vladichuk and Jeremy Kelly.
This is our first episode from quarantine. We're doing this over the web. We're being responsible adults. That's why our format's different.
That's right. We're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future until the government and the virus lets us be friends again in real life. Until then, we're just we're digital friends.
We are digital friends. We started as digital friends. We will end as digital friends.
Wait, dude, is this going to end? Are we going to stop being friends after this?
This is awkward.
Dude, I got something to tell you. I've been meaning to say it. I just didn't want to do it face to face.
I specifically meant to do this on our third podcast episode.
That's right. Yeah, you wanted to just start off strong and then just let it crash and burn. Just kind of those better to burn out than to fade away kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
It's like that. So, so we're going to be doing these podcasts from each other's apartments, like literally almost every other podcast is doing right now. So, surprise, I guess.
Surprise.
How have you been, dude? Have you been enjoying not going outside and not being in groups?
Surprisingly, it's starting to get to me a little bit. Which is weird
too.
Because when I wasn't forced to stay inside, all I did was stay inside. But now that you're forced to stay inside, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's there's been times where I just like, want to just, it's like everybody, I guess, right? I just want to go to a pub and have a couple beers with some friends and just kind of chill and socialize,
Dude, going to a pub right now or going to the taco place that we went to would be incredible.
Woohoo! Damn those tacos, dude. Shout out La Carnita in Toronto, dude.
La Carnita, yeah. Gabby and I have been eating nothing but tacos. Straight up.
We had tacos yesterday. Well, sick.
Nice.
So I guess we should say, yeah, well, of course, absolutely. So I guess we should say that it's April 10th. And as you guys are, I guess, starting to be aware, we're going to be doing these recordings on Fridays, and then a new episode will be released every Monday. That's still the schedule. Nothing changes as far as content for you guys. It just looks and sounds different. I'll let everyone be the judge of whether it looks or sounds better or worse, I suppose.
I think sound-wise, it's going to be pretty much the same. Looks-wise, we don't have the cool set. We just got our regular webcams going.
Yeah, dude, I like the, I miss the table. It's weird. It's very strange.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
I miss gazing lovingly into your eyes while we talk about gaming.
Exactly. It's just not the same, dude. It's like, what's even the point to doing the podcast without it,
I know. It's just an excuse to have you over.
Exactly. So last episode we talked about things to consider and a couple of avenues to pursue before starting streaming, right? That was kind of where we were sitting with that, with episode number 2.
Yeah, last week was the pre-stream talk.
Exactly. So I think what we kind of wanted to do this episode is just have a little conversation about what to do once you've started streaming, and things to look out for, maybe things to consider, especially in times like these. I think obviously there's more and more people being considering streaming, I guess. So it's just, it's things that might catch people by surprise that they didn't really think about before starting streaming. Because then once you actually get into it, and you've been doing it for a week or two or a month, different things start to kind of pop into your head as to what you should be doing, where you should be going, what you should be pursuing, and those kind of things. It sound like a good place for us to go, dude?
That sounds like the logical next step.
Yeah,
what to do after you've hit that start screaming. Start screaming. Start screaming button.
I mean, you might start
Don't
screaming.
hit that button.
I almost, quick sidebar, I almost started screaming the other night on stream when I was playing through Doom Eternal. I thought I was getting close to the end. So I was like, okay, I'm probably like about an hour away from finishing. So it's like, I'm going to plow through and we're just going to get it done. You know, people are watching where everyone's pretty invested at that point because you can tell that you're getting close to the end of the game. So I was like, all right, I'm going to see it through to the end. And that what I thought would be about an hour until I got to the end turned into about 4 hours until I got to the end. Because it's, again, like I've said in previous episodes, I've been playing it on ultra violent, right? So it's hard. It's really, really hard. And by the time I got to the last boss, I was mentally broken. I was a shell of a man. Like I was a different person coming out of that stream than I was going into that stream.
And now, is that because the difficulty or because of the game itself?
Because of the difficulty. The game is fantastic. Okay. It's super, super good. If I had been playing it on like the normal difficulty, I would have been through it already and loved every minute of it. But it's so punishing on this difficulty. And like I also never finished the last boss. Like, so I'm at the last boss, and that's where my save is right now, and I'm going to finish it next stream. But I was like, I was so frustrated. I was so tilted, and just like by the time the stream ended, I was like sweating. My heart was racing. It was a horrible experience by the end of it.
Sounds like a game I'm not going to touch.
I mean, it's really fun though.
I believe it.
For sure.
I was watching you play for a while. It does look like a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. It's very intense. Great game. Highly recommend. Either way, back to topics. So we were going to talk about what to do once you start streaming, and we had talked about, you know, there's a lot of people who, when they start streaming, playing the game that they really love at that time, and then sometimes people, you know, you become a Fortnite player, or you play just whatever game it is, right? And you kind of stick to one game. Then you start to grow an audience based off of that one game. And then you end up in a situation where your audience is wondering why you're playing something else if ever you choose to play something else. What are your thoughts on being a single game streamer or being a variety streamer? Like, do you have a thought on what the pros and cons of each are?
I would say the pros is you see all the top streamers are single game streamers. They have the largest audience, and therefore they probably make the largest living from it.
Right.
Downsides are obviously the mental health downsides. Playing the same game every day and being locked into that. Even if you're making, let's just use Ninja for example.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're making Ninja money at when he was like at the peak of Fortnite playing,
right?
I would imagine it still got like super tiring to just have to play Fortnite,
right?
And, like if you went and played something else, your viewership dropped tenfold.
And your chat the whole time is, why aren't you playing Fortnite? Why aren't you playing Fortnite? Why aren't you playing Fortnite? That kind of thing, right? And that's all you would deal with all stream.
Yeah, and that would suck. So I think there's definitely a bit of a trade-off there. If you want that big, like, focused audience, you're kind of forced into a single game. But if you want that freedom to play whatever you want and maybe make a little less money doing it, then do variety streaming.
Right,
so
yeah.
I think it's very subjective. It's very up to the person of what kind of they want to be.
No, that's fair. I think there's something, you know, when you're that single game streamer, you kind of, you know, every time you stream, you're in that same category. So you end up in these situations where, you know, there's a better chance of you being seen by the community of people that like that game. And then if that's the game you stream and that's the game that they like watching, then there's a better chance they'll come back, right? So you probably have a chance at growing a consistent audience a little bit easier with one game. And like you said, also a better chance of it getting of your channel getting bigger, because if the game is popular or if there's a strong community for it, then again, people will come back and they'll watch you playing it if they find your channel, which is great. And then you run into a situation like what you see happening right now with like PUBG streamers, is like the game is dying and then they get scared to go play something else because that's their living. Like their income comes from being a PUBG streamer. And if they normally stream to 800 people, so they're making their living and everything's great. But if they play something else, the 800 people drops down to 400 people. Well, then you're cutting your income in half. And so some people, if you're depending on the level you're at, can't afford to do that, right? So it'd be a scary thing to switch from one to the other. Whereas the variety side, you kind of, I guess the variety, to be more of a successful variety streamer, you kind of, it's more based off your personality and you as an entertainer, as opposed to the game itself, right? So it's like
the single game streamers, like people are there to see you play that game well, but the variety streamers, people are there for you.
Exactly. That's like, I think that's probably the biggest difference between one and the other, right? So if you have a strong personality or you're a great entertainer, swapping to a different game is probably a hell of a lot easier than if you just like happen to be really good at this one game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's something to think about. And I know it's something I think early on when you start streaming, you probably don't really consider, because it's just like, whatever, I'm just going to stream because, hey, look, I just started streaming. That's dope. And it is dope. But it's definitely something I think to consider if you do want to, if the goal is to really grow the channel and you want to be like longevity is the goal. If longevity is the goal, I think you might want to, like, you can have a game you play 75-80% of the time, but I think it's smart to dab into other little games now and then, just so your community isn't completely blindsided if you decide to play something different.
Yeah, like make that expectation that, yeah, I do play this game, but I also play other games.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's smart.
And yeah, as you said, dude, you're not blindsiding your audience after 2 years of streaming one game. You're like, oh, by the way, also play other games.
Exactly, yeah.
Pepper it into your stream, other games, and then it won't be so much of a surprise when you play other games.
For sure, yeah. I think it's just something to consider. Again, it's as someone who just starting off streaming, it's not necessarily the most important thing, but it's something to consider, because I do think that as you start to grow your community, it's, you know, like you'll start to notice that people are there for that game they found you from. Like that's kind of been my experience anyway. It's like if I am playing some other game, like some random game that just came out or some random indie game that I don't often play, and I get new viewers from that game, then they'll usually only come back if I go back to playing that game.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well.
Yeah, so it's just something to consider, I suppose.
Some viewers literally only watch one game.
Absolutely, yes.
Doesn't matter who you are.
That's true.
And they just channel skip on that one category.
Yep, that's right. So they'll watch their favorite streamer in whatever that game may be, and then if that person's not on, then they'll go to their next favorite streamer, or they'll go into the list of that game and find people playing it until they find something they like.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. We had talked or mentioned just a second ago, depending on what your goals are going to be, I think it might be a good idea just to talk a little bit about jumping into streaming. You can have whatever gigantic goal that you want, but I think there's a good conversation to be had, or at least a good think piece to setting some small goals, or like little step-by-step goals you can set that can kind of I guess make you feel more consistent senses of accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
What are some small goals that you set when you first? I know, like when you've last episode where we spoke about that, like by the end of 2020, we had some goals for ourselves, right? But when you started streaming, or when you first came over, let me ask you this. Maybe this is the best way to word it. When you first jumped over to Twitch from Mixer, what was the first goal that you had? Like, what was the very first roadblock you wanted to cross?
First goal was getting affiliated.
And we talked about that last week, in the first episode, in episode 1. If you guys haven't had a chance to hear that, you can jump back and listen to it. Brant talks about how he got affiliated and all that kind of stuff. So that was step 1 for you, was to get affiliated, right?
Yeah, that was step 1, which happened a lot quicker than I thought, as we explained in episode 1.
That's right.
And so I guess the question is, what are my next? Yeah. So
goals? So you got affiliated, and then so you crossed that roadblock. What's the next roadblock? What was the next roadblock?
The next roadblock is more personal than it is like a number or anything.
Yeah.
But it's so like getting that affiliate was like the first thing I really wanted to get out of the way, so I can just focus on me being an entertainer,
right? And
have that affiliate thing out of my head, so I can just focus on myself, focus on being a little bit more confidence as a streamer, as an entertainer,
right?
So I honestly don't know if this is a short-term or a long-term goal. I don't know how long it's going to take.
That's a progression thing, I suppose, right?
It's a progression thing. But it is something that I look back on my streams. And this is another very important thing. Look back on your past broadcasts.
Very smart, yeah.
It does wonders for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know when I first started streaming, that was something that I would do frequently, is go back and watch just like bits and pieces of my past broadcasts to see like am I too close to the microphone? Am I too far away? I knew that this moment happened, and then I go watch that moment that was like something cool or funny or bad, or I got frustrated or I got excited, and just see how it looks, see how it comes across, and make sure that that's how you're projecting is the way that you want to be projecting, right?
Yeah. And if you've never watched yourself or listened to yourself back, don't get discouraged. It's gonna be the worst thing you ever see or hear.
It's painful.
Until you get used to hearing yourself talk or seeing yourself on video talking. It's the worst. But it's only bad to you. It's not as bad as how it actually looks. I don't know why that happens. Just don't get discouraged when you watch yourself back.
It's a weird little mental game we play with ourselves, isn't it?
It is. It sucks.
I know it
absolutely sucks.
It really does. The first episode of the podcast that we did, the first time I heard it, I was like I know I've listened to myself through like on streams and that kind of stuff, but it's like I really do sound like that, eh?
Yeah.
That's
I hear myself back and I'm like, oh my God, I don't pronounce half my words properly.
Was it you said episode 1, Twitchers?
Yeah, Twitchers. And then there's a whole sentence that I just is totally illegible.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But you listen back, you see those, you hear those, and then you be a little bit more conscious when you speak.
No, for sure.
You think of that. If you never look back on yourself, you can never improve yourself.
That's very true. Absolute quote.
If you don't know what's wrong, then you just can't fix it.
That's
but
true.
Just don't get discouraged. Like, everybody has room for improvement. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So speaking of discouraged, do we want to talk a little bit about what happens to streamers, and it happens to everybody, when you do get discouraged from streaming, or you're not really there, and you just all of a sudden pushing that start streaming button gets difficult again? Do we want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like getting in and getting out of a slump.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you had some things going on over the past, what was it, week, 10 days kind of thing?
Yeah, like I missed my last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stream days.
Right. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So like the first 3, because I stream 3 times a week. I stream. Work load, like my day job workload, was just heavier than usual. And so getting into the mental, after working, getting into like the mental mindset to then go, oh, now I got to go stream for 4 hours was like really not something I wanted to do. So I just didn't. And then that leaked into this week where I just kind of got in the habit of not streaming. And it was just like, oh, it's Monday, I got to stream today. And I just made excuses. And then didn't stream. And then Wednesday came along and it was like, oh, I'm not going to do it again. And this isn't the first time that's happened. It seems like once you start going down that trail of like putting it off, it just gets harder and harder and harder to get back into it.
Yeah, every stream you put off gets harder and harder to get back in. Absolutely.
So I guess things that I've done in the past to get out of a slump was don't just do a quick stream. Do an hour, do 1 or 2 hours.
Such a good idea. Absolutely.
Don't worry about hitting that 4 or 5 or 6 hour thing. Just like do it for an hour, do it low key, maybe even turn off your face cam just to like get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then your next one, you can go big again.
Right.
Because you'll feel a lot better.
Absolutely. And so what were some of the excuses that you made for yourself? Do you remember?
Not really.
No.
Bullshit excuses.
Yeah, okay,
it's all
just
bullshit.
whatever.
Like
Yeah.
you don't even like I don't want to do it right now because blah 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 blah. They're just excuses. They don't mean anything.
Right, I got you. Yeah. And so then you, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, you came back? And
Yeah, so I did my first stream after my slump
yeah.
yesterday.
And how did that go?
And it was great. It was actually probably my best Twitch stream yet. And I have to thank producer Gabby, my partner, for streaming with me. That was another big help. If you want to get out of a slump, like stream with somebody, whether it's in person or it's playing a game, just have somebody there that you can like talk with.
It was a really good stream. It really was.
It felt good. I had a 10 viewer peak, which I've never hit 10 viewers on Twitch.
Yeah. You got your first subs, right?
I got my first sub and then 2 more, so 3 subs.
Yeah. So like,
and then
that's like
the overall.
Oh, sorry. No,
the overall average for it was about 3.5 hours was 5.
Which like viewers. Incredible, dude. Like, and so streaming has a way. Streaming giveth and streaming taketh away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a cool thing that happens sometimes when you do have those slumps. And I've done the same thing. I've had these slumps as well, where I stream maybe 1 day a week, if that, and it's just like you're not feeling it, and you just you like you said, you come up with any excuse in the book just to not do it, and then you come back and you have this great stream, and these small. There's something to be said about the strength of small communities on Twitch.
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
Like, when you start to get these regulars in there that you don't know personally, but you start to develop a little bit of a relationship with them, it really, really, really does have the power to turn your whole mindset around. And it can take you from, that week-long slump that you were in to that stream alone just made the rest of your week incredible. Like you're almost like on cloud 9, you know what I mean? Like these small communities, and it's like that's one of the things I love about being a small streamer, is that I think it would get weird if you got to a point where you were so big that you couldn't have ongoing conversations with your viewers.
Yeah, I think that's
right? Like, I think that's the biggest benefit to being a small streamer. Like, obviously, the pros of being a bigger streamer are, everyone knows what they are. People have talked about it for forever, so we don't really need to get into that. But the strength of a small community, man, it's incredible. I don't know if I'm obviously having trouble even finding the words to describe how cool it is to just to get to know people from around the world, or from places that you've never been. They don't really speak the same language as you. Like they, you know what I mean? Like some people in my stream have like kind of shaky English and that kind of stuff. But they come back and you get to know their story. You get to learn things about where they're from, and you start to just look forward to seeing those people again. Like it almost gives you a little jolt of energy when they even pop back into your channel. It's like, hey dude, what's up? I haven't spoke to you in a week or whatever it may be. How you been? What's going on? How are the kids? Whatever. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a really, really cool thing that I think anyone who's just starting streaming should be excited for when they get to that point where they have, you know what I mean, even if it's 2 people, just 2 regular viewers that you don't know, you get to have these conversations with these people and get to know them on a more personal level. And it's just it's an incredible feeling. It really, really is.
Yeah, it is. If your goals aren't to be a big streamer, your goal should at least to have some random regulars, because it's probably some of the best conversations.
It is. That small community
Can't
is
explain
just
why.
Can't
explain why.
It's really cool. And it just feels like you know, like say, for just as an example, from while this whole virus thing's been going on, like obviously people are trapped inside and that kind of thing, and like I've gotten messages from viewers just being like, dude, I hope you know that what you're doing is really helping people get through these shitty times. And it's just like things like that, dude, are like, I was like, man, it's like, you know, the viewership isn't big or anything to write home about, but you know, you might be able to actually positively impact someone's life aside from just being a distraction for them for an hour or two. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's like the power of helping one person like can't be underestimated.
Absolutely not. It's crazy. It's just the community that someone can build as a small streamer is really amazing, and they can do really, really cool things. You know, just a small community of people can really turn a lot of people's lives around, turn their day around, turn their week around. You know what I mean? Make people see, you know, if they're having trouble with something, they can come into their small community and talk about it, and feel comfortable bringing up these issues with people in that community and talk it out and maybe help them see a different perspective that's a little bit more positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of, as you start to do it for longer and longer, you start to see these amazing things happen all the time, and it's a really, really neat thing that I think is very unique to streaming because it's live, as opposed to like you know, if you're a YouTuber or something, you don't really have that same connection with your audience, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. And with YouTubers, not with every YouTuber, but it's hard to tell. The personality of the YouTuber is always a question.
Yeah, are they actually like that? Exactly, that's fair.
Like, yeah. And most YouTubers definitely hype up, because that's what it is with YouTube. You hype it up and then you edit it. There's a totally different thing when you live stream.
For sure, yeah. It's I think we talked about it on last episode, but maybe it was just me and you that had the conversation about how it's tough to act or to play up a character, to hype yourself up, to not be yourself. It's tough to do that, right? Because the cracks are going to show the longer you're streaming.
Yeah, you might be able to do it for a little bit, but it's your true personality is going to shine through.
For sure. What do you think about the you mentioned earlier about when you come back to streaming after a slump, you know, just try and do it for an hour. Do it with your camera off, that kind of thing, just to try to break yourself out of that slump, which you should absolutely. In a perfect world, what do you think is the length of time someone should be considering streaming for?
So for me, I found like the minimum should be 4 hours.
Right.
Only because the first 2 hours are kind of a write-off.
Mm-hmm.
I usually find that people roll in. My few regulars roll in. My very few roll in about the 2 hour mark, and then that gives you 2 hours to interact with them and interact with any new people and it gets you kind of into the vibe, the mode.
Right.
My first 2 hours streaming, I'm kind of quiet and reserved, and it takes, I mean, that's a very personal thing, but it takes me 2 hours to like get into it.
Right.
So maybe other people would be different, but for me, like I try to do a 4 hour minimum.
What's the longest
if it's
you've
going
gone?
really, the longest I gone was like 12 hours.
Oh shit, really? Okay.
Yeah, I did no, it was longer. It was 14 or 15 hours. When I first, this is dumb. Don't do this. I was like, when I switched to Mixer, I was like, oh, I'm going to go hard on my first Mixer stream. This is when Apex just came out. It's like, I'm going to do a 24-hour Apex stream as my first Mixer stream.
Yeah.
I got 14, 15, 16, I don't remember. Many hours in, and I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
At what point did you start to did you start to like really break down? Do you remember?
Like hour 8. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
It's been at one viewer, which is me, for 8 hours.
Right. I know, like when I was saying to you, like my last stream there when I was playing Doom, it ended up being 7 hours. And that last hour, like I was just like, man, like I'm so done. Like I'm so tired and I don't want to be playing this anymore. But I was like, I was so close to the end, you know what I mean? I just wanted to see it out.
Yeah, just had to keep going.
Yeah, but it's like, but yeah, it ended up being, I think it was just over 7, and it was like, I don't know if I would, like, I'm sure I would do it again if there was some game that I was just like absolutely fell in love with and was just super obsessed with it. Like, I mean, a lot of us are gamer nerds, and we've done all-nighters playing whatever game, so it's not like it can't be done and you can't enjoy doing it. But it's tiring, man. That's like even 7 hours is, man, it was exhausting. It can be so tiring to stream for that long, man.
Like
I think
4 hours. 4 hours can be a chore to get through.
Yeah, for sure. I try to hit 5, but a lot of times I won't reach 5. I try to do, like, I guess anywhere between 3 and 5 is like kind of the goal, like the goal for consistency anyway. It's to like start at the same time and then go somewhere between 3 and 5 hours depending on how well it's going. But I do think that you're right that somewhere between that 4 or 5 hour mark gives people time to realize you're online, gives some new people a chance to find you, gives you a chance to get comfortable in what you're doing that day. And then you kind of get to see those, like I was just saying, the conversation that you have with your community, you kind of get a chance to have those conversations in full. And then, by that time, you're probably usually into almost that 4 hour mark anyway. So then it's, the last 20 minutes, you kind of wind it down, or the last hour and 20 minutes, you kind of, gameplay, have a little laugh here and there, and then kind of end it. I wanted to talk real briefly.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to talk real briefly about, I think we're kind of on this topic here today about, everyone's trapped inside. More people are streaming. People are streaming more often. Just because, maybe they've been laid off from their job, or school is canceled, so they're not going to school, so they got nothing to do. So like they're just streaming more and more and more. And I've seen a lot of people doing that. And my personal opinion, I think it's a terrible idea. I think if you stream 3 days a week, but now you don't have school or you don't have work, you got nothing to do. I don't think I could recommend it enough to not add any more than maybe 1 day a week to your stream. Like if you normally stream 3 times, now you want to stream 4, fair enough. But yeah, I just think it's a horrible idea to start streaming that much, because I just think you're going to end up burning yourself out. One thing, I think that's the biggest thing, is that you're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to it's just going to get very tiring, and you're going to take the fun out of it. On top of that, I think it's damaging for your brand as a whole, because you're going to start getting viewers that think you stream every day, or think you stream 5 or 6 days a week, or think you do a daytime stream and an evening stream. And then once everything gets back to normal, these people are going to be like, wait, Shady doesn't stream anymore? he's never on anymore. I don't see him on during the days now. What's going on? And then you lose viewers. It's I think you're damaging yourself mentally, physically, and you're damaging your brand all in one shot by adding a whole bunch of extra streams to your week just because there's less things to do because of this whole quarantine thing. I feel like, if anything, what people should be doing is absolutely nailing down their stream schedule and really sticking to it if they can. Yeah, I think you're damaging yourself mentally, physically, and you're damaging your brand. But this is a perfect time to really lock down that stream schedule that you thought would be, or you think would be, really strong, that you can maintain, and then use those opportunities to make those streams stronger. I really think a less is more approach is the right move when it comes to streaming, not across the board, but when it comes to streaming on a lot of days. I think like it's a showtime thing, right? It's a stage performance thing. It's a leave them wanting more. I think that can't be understated. I just think anyone that is listening to this that wants to start streaming or just started streaming, I just think maybe take a long look at the long-term ramifications of adding extra streams to your schedule that you won't be able to keep up as things get back to normal, or as you potentially burn yourself out.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I know anybody who's watched any streaming tutorials, videos on YouTube or anything like that, it's definitely been said a lot to focus on like your offline content. And now with all this extra free time, if you have it, like focus on your YouTube content, your Instagram content, your TikTok content if you're on TikTok.
That's what people should be doing instead of streaming more.
Yeah, don't stream more. Do your other content more. Because it's been said it's a million times. We're not going to preach this. Like you don't get discovered on streaming platforms. You get discovered on other platforms.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we did speak briefly about the horrible discoverability on Twitch. But yeah, so this is the time to absolutely be taking advantage of the downtime to, learn a skill. Learn a skill that's going to help you with streaming. Learn graphic design. Yeah. Learn how to, like, I'm trying to learn to video edit a little bit more and that kind of stuff. Like, take the time to learn that stuff instead of burning yourself out just streaming. I think the benefits of learning a skill like that or work on offline content will pay off way more than adding extra streams to your stream schedule. Your extra streams to your stream schedule. It's like a
adding
tongue twister
streams to your stream schedule. Because adding if you stream 3 days a week and you switch to 5 days a week, there's going to be no difference to your numbers at the end of the week. That's almost
guaranteed. Yes, almost guaranteed. What have you been playing? I know you didn't. You streamed like the one day this week, but what have you been playing? Like we talked earlier about being sticking to one game or variety. What is it that you've been doing lately as far as streaming, or what have you been thinking about as far as things to stream?
So as we said last week, I am playing Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Right.
Which is a lot of fun, learning that speed run.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, getting back into the Borderlands series, which is pretty much the only non-multiplayer game, with the exception of co-op.
Right.
Non-multiplayer versus game.
Have you played the DLC for that?
Yeah, Gabby and I just went through the new DLC. Super good.
Is it good? Yeah. Can you speak on it a little bit? Just because I actually haven't seen it yet.
It's good. It's super dark. It's super culty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have a lot to say on it other than it, just like Borderlands 2, they're just killing it with these DLCs.
Right. Yeah. They really did the DLCs in Borderlands 2. They just knocked it out of the park. Eh?
Yeah. That's literally the only reason why Borderlands 2 is, a game that survived almost 7 years.
Yeah. You were really big into that community too, right?
Yeah. And that's one thing I really hope. We're getting super sidetracked here. We'll save the Borderlands 3 topic for another day, but I just really hope Borderlands 3 Endgame is as good as what Borderlands 2 Endgame got to with their DLCs and their expansions.
It would be amazing. It really, really would be amazing.
Yeah, and then the other game I've been playing, because I am super lucky, is I got a Valorant beta key.
Valorant. Is it Valorant or Valorant? Do we know yet?
I have no idea, dude.
No idea. All right.
Valorant. What did you say?
Valorant.
Valorant. Valorant. That sounds more right than Valorant. We'll call it Valorant.
Valorant sounds like a fashion line.
Or perfume.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfume. Absolutely.
Valorant by Riot Games. Let your inner desires.
It's like a League of Legends character spraying on the perfume. It's like the souls of some Teemo-looking nerd. What were your thoughts on this? You had a chance to play it a little bit. So what are your thoughts?
So just to preface what I'm going to say is I'm a console gamer who has never played Counter-Strike and never played Overwatch. So going into this was definitely a new experience, and I can say it is not for me.
Not for you?
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I'll definitely play it. I'll play it with you. I'll squad up with my buds, but it's not a game that I am going to... I know I have to dedicate just so much time to be somewhat relevant skill-wise. Right,
yeah.
And I'm just not having a lot of fun with the movement. It's more of a Counter-Strike game than it is Overwatch.
Absolutely. It is. I think I haven't played it yet, but from watching it, it seems like Riot is just trying to make the next evolution in the Counter-Strike style of game, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely a Counter-Strike game. It's not an Overwatch game. The Overwatch elements with your abilities and characters are just peppered in there.
So do you think it would be easier for a Counter-Strike player to start playing Valorant than it would for an Overwatch player to start playing Valorant, right?
Oh, in my opinion, 100%.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen as well. I think it has potential to be really good. I don't personally think it's unique enough to replace Counter-Strike.
No, not at all.
I
don't think it's gonna bring the Counter-Strike pros over.
Yeah, I don't think so, unless they start doing really, really cool things with the esports side of it, which they might. I mean, it's Riot. If anyone can do it, it would be them. But I don't think I get what they're trying to do. I get that they're trying to just reimagine Counter-Strike to fit 2020 gaming, right? And I think they're nailing what their vision of Valorant is, but I don't think it doesn't reinvent the wheel, you know what I mean? It doesn't change my view on what that 5v5 bomb plant shooter is. It doesn't do anything unique enough to be like, dude, this is what we've been waiting for. It's like, okay, it's Counter-Strike with abilities done really well. Cool. Right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, another thing I think they'll have trouble doing is bringing in people who didn't like Counter-Strike or didn't play that style of game in the first place, or stopped playing that style of game because they got bored with it. I don't think it's new enough or unique enough to make non-Counter-Strike people like it. It's just it seems too much like Counter-Strike.
And I'm a perfect example for that. I am not. I've already just I already know that it's not going to be a game that I put a lot of hours into.
Right. Which is, I mean, again, I think they'll do good things with it. I think it'll be popular, but I don't think it's not gonna kill Counter-Strike. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Have you seen the viewership that some Twitch streamers have been getting?
Viewership, they broke records. Twitch had a 4 million concurrent viewership
Is that the most it ever had?
Yeah, that broke a record.
Wow. That's
and
insane.
Obviously, this game spearheaded that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I seen like Summit was the highest I seen was like 262,000 people watching or something.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Like isn't that what?
Imagine like being broadcasting that. That's like TV. That's like TV numbers,
dude. Like yes, absolutely. It's more. It's like more than most most primetime television shows get. Absolutely.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I'm a huge Summit fan, so like I'm very, very happy that he got it and that he's been like so far been the person that's been getting the fat viewership. There's a couple other people that are getting really good viewership as well, obviously. But it's insane to see those kind of numbers. What it made me think though was how, like, I'm sure he doesn't care, but how many viewers Shroud would be getting. Like,
yeah, could you imagine if Shroud was on Twitch right now?
I genuinely think if Shroud was still on Twitch, he'd be over 500,000 viewers.
Yeah, I could believe that. Did you happen to see? I'd never even checked what his numbers were in Mixer.
Yeah, I'm
gonna look that up right now.
When Summit was at like 200,000, I jumped over just out of curiosity, and he was at 14,000.
Yeah, he's at 10,000 right now.
Yeah, which is like, man, it's like again, I'm sure he's not mad. Like he's getting paid very, very well to do the Mixer thing.
He's set for life. Like, fuck,
easily,
whether he streams to one person or a million people, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So like it's irrelevant, but it would have just been cool to see. Like, I do think that he would have, because I think Ninja has the record for the most viewers at once, right?
Yeah, and that was like I don't know, 500,000 or something with Drake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I like have a strong feeling that he would have contested for breaking that record.
Fuck, that would have been insane.
Which is too bad, but I mean, again, I'm sure he's not mad.
No, not at all.
No.
He takes one look at his bank account and when he's feeling down, and he goes, yes,
oh, never mind.
I didn't even know that many zeros could exist.
It's exactly, yeah. If my math was better. No, I'm sure.
Is this my telephone number? Oh shit!
Nope.
That's my bank account balance.
Amazing. I think that's all we have to touch on today, dude.
Yeah. I think that was pretty solid.
I think that went well. We like this being the first one we do or we've done, I guess, online. Anyone that gets a chance to check this out, let us know what you guys think. Either in those comments, or if you guys want to pop into our streams or send us a message somehow, if you guys know us, let us know what you guys think of the remote podcast. Our goal over the course of the first few episodes is to constantly improve, right? So constructive criticism. I know I've been reaching out to some friends and stuff to check it out. And anything that they think about, I'm trying to get as much constructive criticism as possible, just to try and make this as good as it possibly can, as informative and entertaining as it possibly can. And keep it at a looking something like a professional product. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys.
Any comments would be great.
Yeah.
What we can do better. Or if you just want to be a dick and tell us we suck, that's still engagement on our end. So thank you.
That's right. And that's what it's all about, dude. It's all about the engagement. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of the Hotfix Podcast. Much love from both of us, and we'll see you guys next week. Until then, stay safe. Watch your hands. Watch your hands.
Watch your hands. Just watch the germs on your hands. Make sure they don't get in your mouth.
Yeah. Wash your hands and take care of each other. Be good to each other. We love you guys. Cheers. See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.